Hello everyone, welcome back to today's video is a banner review of the brand new Tower of God collaboration. And first thing first, of course, we always look at the characters, what they do, and just, you know, how good they are, really. So this is the main character from the show after, like, the time skip, which of course isn't currently actually in the anime, which is kind of weird. Don't know why they're doing this collaboration, if they're doing it with something that hasn't really come out yet, but it's Netmarble and they do unexpected things sometimes. So his passive, at the start of battle in PvE, his passive is PvE only, apply Power of Thorns to the unit, and when the Power of Thorns is removed from the unit, rank up the unit's cards. So it's only his cards, for example, it's sort of like Kizuna, where when Kizuna played a skill, only ranked up her. For him, when his buff removed, it only ranks up him. Also, when the Power of Thorns is removed for the first time, increase allies' basic stats by 20%. I'm not sure if that's a buff or just a straight basic stat boost. I'm hoping it's just a straight basic stat boost. I've not seen the 20%. I haven't really seen many videos on him. I've seen like Murley's DK ones, because of course they've actually been quite interesting to watch. I haven't really watched any others. So what the Power of Thorns does is increase allies' damage by 20% and decrease allies' damage taken by 20%. Once again, this is a buff, meaning that it can be removed by remove buff skills, so it's not, you know, invincible, it's not a grey buff. And his relic in PvE increased the stat-related buff effects by 1.5 times. Of course, this doesn't include Extort, which is sort of, it's not really a stat buff, it's a steal, so it doesn't count there. His first skill, which is this one, is a decrease enemies' defense-related stats, which is kind of cool. So of course at level 1 it decreases it by 20% for 2 turns, there's a 200% multiplier. It's not bad, it's actually quite cool animation. I've seen the gold one already, because of course I already had a look at it. The level 2 skill, 2 turns, but 30% defense-related stat lower. But the only problem is, because he is PvE only, you then have the problem of the characters being immune to debuff levels, like debuffs in general. So this is 40% for 3 turns. But like, this is the problem, is that a lot of PvE enemies are immune to debuffs, which is slightly irritating, but at least it's not an AoE skill, so it's still quite good. His second skill, which is just Arthur's basic stat boost. You also have to select an enemy. It's literally identical to Arthur's and Kizuna's. It's actually a really cool animation. I've only seen the level 3 for that. That's a really cool animation. And of course at level 3, this skill does give you the debuff immunity, which would be of course very good, especially on Demon King. The Demon King boss fight. He seems like his main purpose will be Demon King, which is kind of good because we kind of needed a half-decent character for it. Of course, if people don't have Albedo, Albedo is of course a super good character, but you know, this guy might be the next best thing. I don't think he'll replace Albedo fully. Or he may even replace Albedo fully, but it's kind of a hard job to replace Albedo. So, his ultimate is a Sever ultimate with a weird looking... Oh, and then, yeah, then it applies the Thorns debuff again. So basically, inflicts Sever equal to 630%, then applies the Thorns buff for 2 turns, which you can see is actually a grey buff. Okay, I thought it was blue, it's actually grey, which actually means that you guarantee the damage reduction. Let's look at this animation. That's quite cool. As it's Sever, it means it would actually be quite a good ultimate in PvE. Because it's not like based off debuffs or based off enemies' buffs sort of thing, which is kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, that's the first character. Next character will be, of course, I just do this, is Yuri. So Yuri... Oh, okay, backed out. Dum-dum. So the next character we're doing is Yuri, who is the... like human support character, basically. A passive is a mouthful. For every human ally participating in battle, increase human allies' base stats by basic stats by 5%. Whenever the unit uses a skill or a human ally takes damage from an enemy's skill usage, apply Shinsu of Rose for 4 turns to the enemy. When the unit uses skill on the enemy that has max stacks of Shinsu Rose, applies a debuff that seals AoE skills for 1 turn. Also, something to mention, the stacks don't go away. It doesn't mention at all that the stacks disappear, meaning as long as you attack with her every turn and they all have the debuff and you use her AoE skill, you can seal AoE skills for all eternity, as long as they don't have, of course, a cleanse character, that being either melee or whatever her name is, Margaret, that's her name, I forgot her name. And what Shinsu Rose does is it lowers their damage dealt by 10%, max up to 3 times. Yes, you do need 4 stacks to trigger the Shinsu Rose effect, but after 3 times you max out the damage lower. But 30% damage lower is kind of insane, especially when it's a grey debuff that lasts for 4 turns, and you can keep restacking it. And as long as they're attacking your human team, it's going to keep reapplying. And the fact that it's grey means it also works in PvE, which is kind of insane, because her passive works everywhere. Of course, it only works in the front, but it's still quite a powerful passive. Onto the... Actually, we'll go into our relic first. So relic is increase allies' critical defense and crit resistance by 30%. No race attached to that. Kind of nice. Just a general crit resistance and crit defense boost. Basically Tristan's passive, but you don't have to be full goddess team, and it doesn't increase your actual defense, it just increases your defense-related stats of crit defense and crit resistance. Onto her first skill, which I believe is this one, yeah, which is Ghislaine's stance cancel skill. It's Ghislaine's stance cancel, which is kind of good. I actually like Ghislaine's stance cancel, and it's actually one of... There's only not many level 1s in the game. You've got Jenna, you've got Ghislaine, and then of course now you've got Yuri, who will have the single target level 1 stance removal. She doesn't do the most damage. That's my only real big pick with her, is that her damage isn't that... It's actually super low. But the support she does provide does kind of make up for that a lot. It enables you to run the team again, and, you know, yes, you do have to kick out Blue Roxy, but, you know, kicking out Blue Roxy is kind of better than, you know, not being able to run the team. So, this skill is unfortunately Green Fraugen's AoE skill, and what this does at level 1, it has no effect, at level 2 it removes buffs, at level 3 it removes buffs and stances. So, look at level 1 skill. But of course it does, of course, apply the Shinsu Rose effect, so it is sort of... You know, I would like them maybe to add a multiplier to this, like Pierce, or like... I don't know, even Charge, really. Just something to increase any sort of damage would have been nice. But of course I do understand her passive is actually quite strong as it is, and I think she was maybe one of the more tested ones out of the 3. I do think the main character was tested a little bit. You know, Yuri was tested the most, and Zahard was tested not much at all. Mainly because, of course, his interaction with Estarossa. I thought if maybe if they found out with how the interaction with Estarossa works, they may have made his debuff grey or immune to being removed, sort of thing, by anything other than his skill. So that means, for example, Rimuru can't remove it. I mean, it's a problem with him. We'll get onto him. We'll get onto that problem when we see him. So her ultimate applies 1 stack of Shinsu Rose, so it does cleave damage. It's single target, it inflicts 1 stack of Shinsu Rose, and it's quite powerful. Of course, at different ult levels will apply multiple stacks. For example, this is for 4 turns, by the way, if you don't know what that means. At 6/6, it does provide 3 stacks, means you basically immediately max it out. But its cleave means it's actually going to hit quite hard. And her crit chance is actually very bad, so her having cleave is actually probably the best ultimate she could have gotten, to be honest with you. And that's the reason I say she's probably one of the most tested, is because, you know, it's quite a good ultimate for a character like this. And actually that is the stack of Shinsu Rose there. That's what it looks like. I can't check the enemy, but it is grey and it can't be removed, basically. No ability can remove it, and the way it can be removed is through over time. Onto the final character, which is of course Zahard, who was initially like the most hyped character for all of them, and then all of a sudden, you know, he kind of sort of got chucked away. Okay, so his passive once again is super long, mainly because his passive has like 3 separate buffs that are like completely unique, so I have to go through over the buffs as well. So at the start of battle, apply Mark of Stability to the unit for 1 turn, and when the buff is removed, apply Shinsu's power to the unit for 1 turn. When Shinsu's power is removed, applies King's Resolve to the unit for 5 turns. Also, for every unknown ally participating in battle, increase the unit's basic stats by 7%. So what this means, he's got the basic stat boost that Shaltir and Albedo have, which is 7%, which is normally what they give like their more broken characters now, is 7%, because it's not too high, it's not too low. You know, it's quite impactful still, but it's not completely broken. For example, like 10%. You know, if Albedo was to get 10% basic stats per unknown, she would be even worse to this day. Like, I mean, to deal with, not in general. She's actually a very good character. So, what does Mark of Stability do? Decrease unknown's allied damage taken by 30%. Of course, this applies turn 1. Before your skills even happen, so let's say you go second, it will apply first. So your team takes 30% less damage. Of course, this is to help tank the current Demon King Meliodas, who can wipe an entire team for the funds. What Shinsu's power is, the unit HP can't go under 1 when using a single target at the end, so you ignore an enemy's crit defense and crit defense and resistance. I'm not sure if it's crit defense and crit resistance, but it just says crit defense and resistance, so all you got to do is land the crit, and you're doing insane amounts of damage. And now we're on to probably the strongest buff, but in my opinion also his biggest weakness, called King's Resolve. For every 1% of a decreased HP, increase crit damage of the unit by 1%. When using AoE, when using an AoE attack, increases critical chance by 100%, grants damage increase upon the rank of the skill. So if it's a bronze skill like this one, you get a 30% damage increase, a silver skill is 60%, and a gold skill is 120%. But this is where the problem comes in. That buff only lasts for 5 turns. After that 5 turns, he runs out of buffs. And what does this mean? In PvE, he becomes useless after around the 7th turn. Because, of course, one of his buffs lasts for 1 turn, the other one lasts for 1 turn, and the other one lasts for 5 turns, which gives you roughly about 7 turns of use in PvE before he just becomes, like this, a basic character. His ultimate does also give him immortality, but we'll get into that in a second. So, his relic is, whenever the marker stability, Shinsu's power, or King's Resolve is removed from the hero, removed from the unit, removes all debuffs applied to the unit. Which basically means, turn 1, turn 2 he gets a free cleanse, and on turn 7 he also gets a cleanse as well. Which is like, it's okay, but when he gets the buff, you can then attack seal him the next turn, and it's sort of like, okay, now he can't do anything because he's got 2 attacks, because he's got only attack skills. So his first skill is called Golden Needle. Inflicts spears, shine, damage equal to, and then of course the multiplier here, which is 120%, which is 3 times pierce rate and 40% attack when using the skill. As you can see, we'll look at the animation. It's quite cool. Look at level 2 now, which of course the multiplier just increased to 50%, but this doesn't change down here. Not too bad. And then of course level 3, which of course have the close-up animation. I always find level 3s actually make the skills look stronger than what they actually are. So his other skill, which is this one, is a Spike AoE skill. That's it, just Spike AoE. Of course it has the normal like Roxy Spike AoE damage, so you don't really have to worry. It's also his main thing, like his main super big damage dealing skill is AoE, because of course it has the insane high crit chance, and because it's Spike as well, you know, it's a big thing. And then ding 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 ding. Onto his ultimate. So his ultimate, 1/6 for 2 turns gives you a 50% crit damage buff, and does 300% damage to the enemy, as well as giving him an immortality buff for a single turn. So the immortality buff doesn't change, it stays 1 turn throughout the entire thing. The only thing that changes is the multiplier for the crit damage. I believe at 6/6 it's 150% at 6/6. We'll look at the ultimate now. Quite a cool ultimate though. Yeah, this is actually quite cool ultimate. Anyway. And now we're going to go on to the banner itself and see what they have cooked up for us. So, we have, of course, the 3 collaboration characters with a 0.25 rate, which is probably the first collab in the game's history to only have 3 characters, not including, of course, you know, Slime, and the original Slime and AOT for having 3 SSR and 1 SR, but they still had 4 characters. You got Tia, very good. Tristan's very good. Horrible. Good. Mediocre. Good. And then, of course, new, but still quite mediocre. Overall, like, I would say only summon this character summon this banner if you really want to, and there's a character you want in mind. Of course, the PvE character is very good, and I'm not going to say it's a replacement to Albedo, but maybe good to get, you know, a copy of. If you are struggling with it, because it's quite strong, but you do have to bear in mind that the teams that people have been using do have a lot of other exclusive characters. What I mean is that they have Kizner in it, they've got Eris in it, they've got Rudius in it, who are of course all collaboration characters, and you know, some of you may not have all these collaboration characters to make that exact team, and that is the unfortunate thing about it. Of course, if you do have all the characters, but you just say you didn't summon on Overlord because you're poor on diamonds and you wanted to save for New Year, you know, maybe go for it. It's up to you really. This collab is sort of a kind of a weird one, because it's like the characters aren't bad, but they're also two of them are quite good. The other one is sort of like sitting on the fence. Like, yeah, he could be good, but then you have the problems of, you know, his buff can be removed, and it's sort of a pain in the ass when that can happen. You want to play anything? Not a single SSR. We should have got an SSR, or at least on the fourth one, due to probability. But of course, you know, we didn't, because probability has no memory. And that's the pain of summoning in Grand Cross. My plan is I will be doing one rotation, because our rotation is only 480 diamonds because of the 4 multis we get for free, which sort of makes it kind of bearable to spend 480 diamonds on the banner, and that means I can basically guarantee a character I want. Are you actually going to give me, like... Okay, I got Demon Melee, I'm not pulling anything. I got Freya. It's fine. It's just this account, that's what happens. But the banner itself isn't actually too bad. The characters are okay. I do believe that, like, Yuri and the main character are probably the 2 best. And Zahard's okay. I do believe that his passive probably wasn't tested the most. They probably thought it sounds really good, and of course we thought it sounded very good. But in actual practice, even with the attack-related stat buff, if you're not pulling level 3 skills, so you're not using Gotha, or you haven't got insane RNG, you're not going to be dealing the damage you saw in the live stream. And of course, we all know that the live stream fights are bloody rigged anyway. You've seen the ones where people just push ultimate when they could have won, just to see the other person's ultimate. But overall, yeah, it's not too bad collab, to be honest. Content-wise, it's probably the least effort they've ever put into a collaboration. Not gonna lie, not throwing shade at the show, just throwing shade at the collab. The boss is Zahard, which means they need to make 3 models. They've only got 1 new arena. You know, they haven't really done too much in comparison to what they normally do. Normally, it would be 5 models. You'd have the 4 characters and the boss. Now it's only 3 characters, and 1 of them is the boss. So, apart from that, it's up to you whether you summon. You could say for, of course, the April collaboration, because of course there will be a collaboration in April, because they did speak about another collaboration during the New Year, which they said they were given the green light to start, which is good. And they're going to try and get it done before the first half over this year, which of course it can't be this collab because, well, this collab's already out, so it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden they greenlight it and they're going to release it so early. They want to get it done for this first half. You could also save for global anniversary, which of course I don't know really what it's going to be. People are speculating probably Ragnarok, so we haven't had Ragnarok in a while, and yeah, I guess it would kind of make sense because they did say they do want to start to end Ragnarok soon. But of course, only time can tell. But anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.